the matchless name of Jesus Christ. We're so glad to be able to come to you with some advice today. We want to talk about kingdom marriage and how it plays out in the community, how it plays out in families. And we know that marriage says in the Bible, man that finds a wife finds a good thing and favor with God. And when we start in our marriage, we normally start with a preacher, perhaps, as they do the ceremony for you. And it's important as we remember that Paul says marriage is an honorable thing. And so therefore, what we want to honor one another in our relationships. But today, we want to give you some pointers through our panel discussion on how to take some of these points and some of these experiences to help you in your marriage. So now we want to introduce everyone to you on our panel, starting to my right.
Sharon and Calvin Mabry.
Tamanja and Shashonda Carlton.
Jason and Tracy Albert.
Kevin and Liz Amoa.
Amen. So now we're going to have our questions and we'll get started.
All right.
Carmichael.
What role does prayer play in your relationship, and how do you incorporate it as a couple?
Prayer plays a big role in our marriage. We went into this marriage knowing that God has to be in our center. And every day we try to definitely either meditate in the morning or at nighttime with leading the prayer, right? So from time to time I do end up forgetting because of the day goes by, but we make sure at nighttime before we go to bed, we make sure we meditate to God and talk about everything that we did that day.
So for me, I knew that God in general was definitely, it wasn't optional. So I knew that the man that I wanted to be with, that I wanted to call my husband, our faith had to align. So when Kevin and I got together, when marriage got into place, and we knew that marriage was something that's forever, and forever is a long time. So we talked about it and how we was going to go about things, and marriage counseling was not an option. No matter, even if it cost $1 million, we knew that we was going to marriage counseling. And and not just any marriage counseling, biblical. So when it comes to that and prayer and just, it's definitely not non-negotiable. We spend time with each other in the morning. We read the word before going to bed, and now we're trying to bestow that into our son, which we are still learning. But prayer has been what have been leading us and just guiding us to the point and how far we have gotten.
That's good. Beautiful. Yes.
For us, I can say it has changed over the time of the marriage. I can say that the things that we felt like we needed to implement when we first started, it changed, just like your marriage changing, your expectations changes. We both knew that is the one thing that never fails. It brings us together, is prayer. And so once that became evidence, this right here is what we're going to fall on every single time. There have been moments in the marriage where we'll say, okay, well, we're going to go to bed and we're going to read the Bible and then we're going to pray. We had those moments where we were like definitely more intentional. But I can say that we both agree that we understand that that's our foundation and that's what keeps us grounded in the bond, grows stronger through prayer.
I'll just say that certainly we've always looked at it as God first. And so that's the beginning and the end, essentially, of every day and every night.
Yeah, please.
I like to say prayer is everything to us. We wake up in the morning, we kind of try to keep ourselves mindful to keep God first in all that we do, and we instill it into our kids. So, prayer is everything to us.
Ditto.
Nice.
I will definitely say that for Tracy and I, we each have our own walks with God, and we both take that very seriously. But what we've realized, especially over the past couple of years, there have been those hard times that all marriages go through. And being able to pray together, it's brought us closer to one another, closer to God. So then that way each day we can carry ourselves and other people can see God through us by just how we carry ourselves and how we just hold on to one another and keep that faith.
Same. We both kind of grew up in families where God heard, so prayer has always been a big part of our lives anyway. Even when I found myself kind of struggling or being stressed or overwhelmed with certain things, Jason's able to kind of pull me right back in. He's like, all right, let's pray about it. Let's say a prayer right now. And let's talk it out. And we kind of just go from there pretty much.
Wonderful. You know, marriage is a wonderful thing and a wonderful trip for us to take. In the beginning, when we're dating and so forth, and we're all in lovey-dovey and all those things, and we overlook things, in the premarital relationship. But when you get in there, there's some things that you're going to need to keep that marriage together. So that brings us to question number 2. Can you share examples of how forgiveness has played a role in strengthening your marriage? Please. Thank you.
So we go to God every day asking for forgiveness. So we definitely need to be able to do that for our partners also. I think we have to forgive every single day, day by day, multiple times a day, because you never know what the day will bring or what's going to happen. But it's harder from time to time, depending on what the partner does. But you always have to remember to see God in your partner, and if you're expecting God to forgive you, you should be able to forgive your partner every day and forget and not bring it up from time to time. It happens, we're human, but you always got to remember to see your God in your partner.
Well, me on the other hand, I'm the hard-headed one, if y'all haven't noticed. But I'm just authentic and I'm transparent, and it took up to recently for me to learn that I had to forgive maybe 50 times a day. But before going into marriage, I thought that I was the most forgiving person you will ever meet. But what I realized was that I was giving everyone around me grace. And I was patient with everyone that was around me. And I forgive them easily. But when it came to my husband, it was like, you know better. So why are you testing me? But I definitely took that to God in prayer, and I think he convicted me, and that's how I came up with that. And it was like, are you forgiven? And you giving all these people that's around you, you giving them grace that don't even deserve your grace. But the one person that will literally go at the end of the earth for you, you finding it so hard to let certain things go. So with me and my journey in forgiveness, if you have my husband is like the calmness and patience person that you will ever meet. And I think sometimes when God give you your person, one person have to be hard-headed or a little bit crazy while the other person is the calm one. And I'm blessed to say I have that, because I don't think anyone else can put up with me. Because sometimes I sit there and be like, girl, you something. But it's like he never think twice to forgive me. And whenever I do something, even in the time that I'm wrong, but I'm being stubborn, my husband would still come and ask for forgiveness. And it took the point where I literally sat there. I was like, I think I'm taking advantage of his calmness. And that really hurt me, because I love him and I love my husband. And for me to realize that because he's calm, because he's patient, and now I'm taking advantage of it. So forgiveness journey for me is definitely have been going to God in prayer, and he's been revealing some things about me myself that I need to work on. So forgiveness every day is a journey. Every day is a prayer. And I'm still working on me, and God is still working on me.
I think it's a little, or at least for me, for us, we just always made a kind of a God-driven pact of we're not going to go to bed angry at each other, which means there's something to forgive if you thought you were angry. So we have really done, I think, a good job of that over the years. And so as far as it comes to, I don't have anything specific to say with regards to, what the forgiveness is about. But because he died on the cross for our sins and wiped us clean, then we know that forgiveness is something that we certainly have to do inside of our marriage.
But I love your story as in you gave grace to others. That's because you held your husband to a higher standard than those others, than the other people. But it doesn't even have to be a moment or an event where I say, oh, this is where I have to forgive him. It can be every day, my tone, how I speak to my husband, my energy, and just like him, just like your husband, he don't do too much. We do the most. So we have to sometimes check ourselves, right, and put ourselves in place and say, you know what, I apologize how I communicated that to you, the tone and the energy and the body language. So it comes every day. So I agree with you with that.
Totally agree with what my sisters have said, and going back to a key point that Brother Calvin mentioned about how God has forgiven us, and I think about that, which helps make it smoother. And then two words kind of come to mind: love and communication. Those are all connected to forgiveness, right? Love is an action word, right, and that's how we express it, through forgiveness. And then communicating is letting each other know, because sometimes we can offend each other and not even know it unless the other person brings it to their attention.
Wow.
So I think those factors are really key in forgiveness.
I have to say, forgiving each other is key. You got to forgive, forget, and forgive, and be able to walk away. Because at the end of the day, you got to examine yourself in the mirror. And then God forgave us for all that we have done. So how can we not forgive, our spouse?
Yeah, to piggyback off what Liz said, you kind of have to check yourself. We work together, but not work together. Jason's my biggest supporter in our shop. And there's been moments where we're like, we might have a little spat 5 minutes before we're supposed to open. So we're like, all right, we got to tighten it up. And, it takes a minute, the day gets going. And then we're like, I come to him, I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Because tone does definitely matter. And I have to kind of sit back and check and think to myself, like, oh man, I'm sorry. Like, I'm just it's a little much, I'm sorry. And he's really patient. He's the glass half full, I'm glass half empty. So I think we're a good balance, and he's willing to kind of forgive me when I go off the rails a little bit, and the same, vice versa.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for a lot of us is that, it's very easy to walk into another room and just, stew in the moment. But you really do have to examine yourself, and say, you put yourself in the other person's shoes. So, this is my partner for life, and everything that we do is together. And God brought her to me, so I have to cherish that. And so I have to be willing to not just forgive her, but forgive me, because I have to be better in myself, in order to make sure that I'm what she always needs.
Another question is about how do we keep the love alive in your marriage amid the busyness of life?
Wow.
And all the trials and the tribulations, whether it's children or whatever transpires. How are you able to keep your love life alive?
Wow, that's a good question.
And you all know what we're talking about. So how do you do that? How do you do that?
Actually, I have a question before we jump into that question. Back to the previous question, how do you guys deal with forgiveness in your marriage?
How do we deal with forgiveness? That's good. You get good at it. You get good at it. And what happens is any day, any part of the day could happen that when you say I forgive you, it goes without saying. We're used to it now. If I cross the line, she helps me get back across the line. And then, and so when that happens to me, I just automatically go, I'm sorry, and then we move from there. Yeah.
After 50, 60 years,
Yeah.
48
Yeah.
years. 48 years.
Yeah.
We do, trials and tribulations have come throughout the years, but he's my best friend.
My God.
And
you're mine too.
we
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
that we don't tear down our own household.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where the problem comes in so many times with words. We pull down our own home. And for these 48 years, as the wife, if we can't build up, we can really hurt our man and his manhood by our words that we say. And he may be doing fine, and even though, forgiveness and all those things, but what I'm saying, can really cause, some very, very destructive things to happen in the long haul. So we have to be swift to hear, slow to speak. And what?
Slow to anger. That gets rid of anger. That's right. That's right. Okay.
But that question, how do we keep love alive? Let's get back to that
Right,
one.
my Lord. Can't get away from that one.
Yeah, in your marriage, even when you're not forgiving, you feeling bad. You don't feel like you want to show love. You don't, you don't feel like holding his hand. You feel like turning away. It may be that you may turn your back in areas, or even go to another room, not because you're sick, but because you have an angry spirit. Okay, so somebody answer this. So I think somebody's really excited to do that.
So I'll go first on this one. For us, so one of her favorite words is intentional. And so you have to be intentional about what it is, and it also can change. It used to be if she unrobed and there was a certain color, I knew it was go time. Whereas, as that goes on a little longer in life, things begin to change. So as your kids get older and there's others in it, the door closed, and we know it's time. So you have to you really do have to make it where it's intentional. You understand what it is, and that's how it goes, and that we know that it's going to be just us.
Okay.
Dating is fun, and it doesn't stop because you're married. And I have to remind my hubby sometimes, when you get off work, take that work hat off because you're husband. And I'm very intentional with the time that he spends with me, because you're not going to give me the leftovers from work. I need hubby, to come home and, relax. And so we make sure we have date nights. We have our favorite spot that we go to. Like, you know what? I know I haven't looked at your face long enough. Boom, we got reservations. Oh no, get G'd up and let's go. And so I am so blessed to have this fun person. Like you said, your best friend. Like, who don't want to be around me? And so I require energy, a certain type of energy when you're around me too. And that's with anybody. So we are very intentional of keeping it fun. Like, who want to be with somebody that it's not fun? Right. I'm not going to do that. So like you said, being intentional about it, and just kind of like, boom, you know what? I found this. We're going to do this. I already bought the tickets. And we're going to wear this color. So I make it easy to date, per se. So you got to keep the dating coming.
Yeah, so with us, we communicate all day. So this kind of taps into love languages, right? As you learn the love languages. I admit I require attention. So I need to be communicated with all during the day, not just later on in the evening. Doesn't work for me. And so I think that's really key. And then going back to, like the Mabry said, intentional. That is very key. You do have to be intentional because we have young children that keep us super busy. And if we don't take time for ourselves, we will miss out on each other. So we check in to tapping a little bit into the mental health side, if you will. How are you feeling? What are your thoughts? What's going on with you? And I think all of that relaxes us, which, paves the way. So those are some key points. Anything I missed?
No, she got it.
I would say for us, like Tracy said earlier, we work together, so we literally see each other all the time. Like they usually say that you see your coworkers more than you see your loved ones. This is not just my wife, this is my coworker. So we literally see each other all the time, but it's, like you said, being intentional. So it's just that, she might be working on a cake and I could just come by and just brush the back of her neck with my hand. Like I'm letting her know all the time that she's mine. So I always let her know. And so that's what drives us. And even though we may not necessarily be able to always go away or go on a date because the days can get long, we make it a point when we get home, we're home. And that can be our date. It could be a movie. It could be watching a TV series. And yeah.
All right, so with us, the word is reconnect, right? So I definitely make sure that we reconnect from time to time. What I have noticed over the years is my wife changes a lot. So every day is a different day. We have months where her favorite color today could be blue, next week could be green, right? So you have to make sure you know the partner that you're growing with all the time. So that's one thing I learned. So we travel a lot. Date nights is a must. Traveling is also a must. So we make sure we budget for those throughout the year, and this is what we want to do for date night. And then while we're doing those date nights, kind of like an interview. Just wanted to make sure that, is she still the same person? Does she like the same things? Does she like the same earrings stuff? Is it still gold? Is it still green? Whatever the color is, you want to make sure that your partner's still the same. Because usually on the men's side, we love the same thing. From Monday to Tuesday, I could eat the same meals, but not with her, right? So making sure I know my partner every day when it comes to being intentional, that word is definitely, and reconnecting, getting to know her more every day so I can love her the way she wants to be loved and not the way I want to be loved. That too makes a lot of difference.
Well, I told you guys I'm a little crazy, so if some things come out of my mouth, forgive me in advance. But what my husband, I remember we was in marriage counseling and they asked about intimacy, and he said 4 times a week. And I was like, Jesus, what am I getting myself into? And the whole conversation around intimacy for me, I used to be a little hostile towards it. I didn't want to talk about it. But I have a partner who is he's so determined to make sure my needs are met. And then I'm crazy, but he's crazy too. So if we were to have a date night, we pull the car over. And we have fun. So I understand that, but we're still married. But no, it's definitely also about reconnecting and making sure each other needs are met. Whether we kind of like you guys as well. My husband works from home, and I'm a business owner, so I'm at home too. So we see each other throughout the day, literally. And he is my best friend, and we don't get tired of each other. People will ask her, what are y'all still laughing about after all these years? What do y'all still have to talk about? That's because he is my best friend. And there is we don't get tired of being around each other. We don't get tired of talking to each other. And we intentional. We travel a lot to bring that spark. I get bored easily for me. So date nights bring back the spark, traveling bring back the spark, communicating with me and just seeing where my headspace is at and making sure that I'm not lacking anything. And I'm learning to do the same for him as well, because we're so used to men being okay. Like everyone think like men is okay, so no one really checks in with them. But sometimes I feel like they are carrying things that they cannot pour onto us. So just really asking like, are you okay? What's going on? And things like that. Just checking in.
Absolutely. Well, actually, I think we're making some progress, and I forgot to tell you guys out in the audience, you need to get your notes and pad and make some notes. I do believe that it'll help your marriage and your relationship. We've been talking about basically intimacy and emotions and so forth, and we don't walk around all day in our marriage and on this high thing that we must, oh, baby, I'm in love with you every day, all day. I don't know if that really is a realistic approach to marriage, but it does help when we bring it in and bring those moments together. So question 5 is this. How do you balance your individual roles and responsibilities in the marriage? How do you balance your roles and responsibilities in your marriage?
So in our household, we don't have gender roles where the man has to do this. I do the laundry. She does the laundry. I take care of my son, give him his bath every night. She does it in the morning. When it comes to the trash, we don't have gender roles. We support each other. We cook together. We eat together. We do a lot of stuff together.
What's that favorite meal that you cook together?
Well, we did this cooking class where we made some steak. It was really, really good, and some pasta.
Oh, that sounds good to me. Okay, all right. You go ahead.
So doing everything together, but then again, we also know what everyone's strong suit is. Mine is finance, and hers is shopping. So like so we know where we could support each other when it comes to, all right, when it comes to finance, I could do this part. When it comes to this part, she does that part. So she's doing the support in the household, I'm doing everyone has their also that support role or what they're stronger at, but when it comes to gender roles, the man has to do this. No, we don't do that in our household. We support each other in everything everyone is doing, and we love it that way.
Well,
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
well, I'm African, and well, he is too. We grew up in an African household, so I was used to my mom cooking and cleaning and like literally slaving. So when I got into my marriage, I found myself getting irritated at times. I'm like, dude, what am I here for? Because you're not allowing me to cook. These are things I thought that I was supposed to be doing, and doing it alone. So it feels like I am the woman of the household. And what I learned is that I am grateful to have a husband who allowed me to be soft. And not necessarily also I have to be hard and work. I have a husband who allowed me to say, who allowed me to not run my business while I am pregnant. Things like that. So gender role, it took me some time to learn that because you are the woman doesn't mean you have to be cooking, you have to be cleaning, you have to be doing this. You guys could be a team. And like he said, we kind of like iron sharpen iron. I am terrible at finances. So, but my husband is so strong in that. And I remember in the beginning when we first got married, he used to do this thing where we'll have like a monthly finance meeting. Oh, I hated it so bad because he would go down the list of like, why is there $5,000 bill for Amazon? I'm like, oh Lord, here we go. So every time it was like that time of the month, a finance month, I had an attitude. But I had to learn that I have someone who is not just a provider, but also is making sure that I'm taking care of whether he is here today or not.
So for us, I think the biggest thing is, just kind of like what they say, you're working together as a team. So there might be times that, there are certain things that I may need to do in the house, and there's other things that, she may need to handle, whether it be, finances or the business. So we try to go with each other's strong suits as best we can. And if I'm failing in one area, she helps pick me up. And so we just work together as a team, and I think that's just the best way to really kind of go about it, because there shouldn't be just these defined roles, because at the end of the day, just like a job, roles can change. So you have to be willing to shift and be able to pray on it and be able to, speak to each other on it.